Hello everyone, my name is Tarun Kumar and today we are discussing a topic named as cell membrane. Now, we draw a cell. Cell is separated by the outer non-living environment. This non-living environment is also called as inanimate, and cell is covered by a well-defined boundary and the internal content is called as cytoplasm. In center, this is nucleus, and this well-defined boundary is called as cell membrane, or we call it as plasma membrane or plasma lemma. If we discuss about the cell membrane, this cell membrane is living and selectively permeable in nature. We called it selectively permeable in nature, or we also called it as differentially permeable in nature. If we discuss about the composition, of the cell membrane is mainly made up of three things. First is proteins, second is lipids, third is carbohydrates. If we talk about the cell membrane, there are three components. One is protein, another is lipids, and the third is carbohydrates. All the three components are present in the eukaryotes as well as prokaryotes. All components are present in eukaryote and prokaryote. Understood? Now we will discuss further the structure of the cell membrane. As we know, if we talk about the cell is covered by the cell membrane, as we studied in the last slide. As the discovery of electron microscope observed during 1950s, it is mentioned in the NCERT. We elaborated the exact structure of cell membrane revealed. It is mentioned the most acceptable structure that we have to study as per the syllabus is fluid mosaic model. This fluid mosaic model is given by Garth and Nicholson. This model is given by Garth and Nicholson. Now we will study how the structure of this model defined. Now, after studying the membrane of RBC, studying membrane of RBC revealed the best possible structure, the best possible structure. After studying the membrane of RBC, the best possible structure of cell membrane is revealed, and we talk about the concentration of components inside the membrane of RBC. It is nearly 52% protein, 40% lipid, and remaining are carbohydrates, and nearly 30 enzymes are also present in the cell membrane of the RBC. Now, after studying the RBC membrane, we will define the fluid mosaic model as it is given by Singer, Garth and Nicholson in 1972. Fine. Now we will study the structure. As we have mentioned, the cell membrane is made up of three components: protein, carbohydrate, and lipids. Now we will draw the structure and do the labeling all the respective components. Now what we observe, we will make a clear picture as per the NCERT. What we observe, there are some extrinsic or peripheral proteins are present which are not connected on the outer side or on the inner side of the cell membrane. Initially we are discussing about the proteins. These are proteins. These are proteins. If we talk about the proteins are subdivided into extrinsic protein or intrinsic protein. These proteins are extrinsic proteins which are not connected with each other. They are separated. Okay, fine. And these are intrinsic proteins. These are intrinsic proteins. We label it. These are extrinsic, or these are intrinsic proteins. These are extrinsic proteins. These are extrinsic proteins. So we have drawn the proteins and subdivided into two categories. One is intrinsic, this one, and the another one is extrinsic. Now we'll draw the lipids. These are phospholipids molecule. These are phospholipid molecules. Which are present between the protein. Okay, this is phospholipid bilayer. This is the first layer, this is the second layer. If we talk about the phospholipid molecule, which is definitely lipid, we draw it outside like this. It is having two components. This is hydrophilic head, and these are hydrophobic tail. Correct? Hydrophilic head and hydrophobic tail. This phospholipid molecule is also called as amphipathic molecule. Is it okay? So we have drawn initially the proteins, that the proteins are subdivided into extrinsic proteins and the intrinsic proteins, which are also called as transmembrane proteins, and these are the lipid molecules which are present in two layers, which is called as phospholipid bilayer. This is phospholipid bilayer. Correct? So the first component is protein that we have mentioned or labeled, second component lipid, and the third component we are going to just make it mention or going to draw it. If we talk about the lipids, there are certain molecules of lipids which are called as cholesterol, which are responsible for maintaining the stability, of the cell membrane. Fine. Now we proceed further. We have mentioned the two components, one is protein, another one is lipids. Now we talk about the carbohydrates, the remaining carbohydrates present in the membrane. How we will mention them? Here in NCERT it is mentioned as sugar. In NCERT it is mentioned as sugar. Fine. What these sugar are? These are oligosaccharides. Correct? So we have mentioned all the three respective components in the cell membrane. Now we take a recap here. Initially what we have done, we have drawn the layer of a protein. These are peripheral proteins which are not connected with each other, and the gap is observed among them, as you can see. And below on the internal side, this is cytosolic surface. Cell membrane has two surfaces. It is the outer environment, and this is the inner side, cytosolic surface. So on the outer side, peripheral or extrinsic proteins present, and on the inner side, these peripheral or extrinsic proteins are present. If we compare the concentration, the peripheral proteins are more on the cytosolic surface, and there are some specific proteins like actin and spectrin are present. So there are some specific proteins which are present on the cytosolic surface are like actin and spectrin, which are helpful in the contraction and relaxation of the membrane. So if we compare the peripheral or extrinsic protein on the outer side or inner side, the concentration is more on the inner side. Okay, fine. Now we talk about the thickness. The thickness of the outer layer is 20 angstrom. Similarly, the thickness on the internal side is as well as 20 angstrom, and the thickness of this phospholipid bilayer is 35 angstrom. So here the thickness of whole cell membrane is revealed, which is nearly to 75 angstrom. So the thickness of the cell membrane is 75 angstrom. So here we have deduced or elaborated the structure of the cell membrane, and at the initial level we have studied the extrinsic proteins. Okay, fine. So we have discussed the extrinsic protein on the outer side as well as on the inner side. The concentration of protein is more on the inner side. Fine. These extrinsic proteins are nearly if we talk about the extrinsic or peripheral proteins, these are 30%, and there are some proteins which are nearly 70%, which are partially embedded or fully embedded or penetrated the membrane like a channel. These are transmembrane proteins or tunnel proteins which completely penetrated the cell membrane. So these proteins are intrinsic proteins. These proteins are intrinsic protein, transmembrane proteins or channel proteins. And these red proteins which are not connected, make it sure these are not connected, present on the outer side as well as on the inner side, these are extrinsic proteins, these are intrinsic protein. So we have discussed the proteins. Now we will go to the lipid molecules. So here we have drawn the lipid molecules. In the lipid molecules, what we have seen, this molecule is called as phospholipid molecule. It is mentioned over here. It is also called as amphipathic molecule. This phospholipid molecule having a hydrophilic head, which is also called as polar in nature. Polar is in normal language we can call it as water loving, and this is hydrophobic tail, which contain the saturated hydrocarbon as well as the unsaturated hydrocarbon. Due to unsaturated hydrocarbon, it is fluidic in nature. What kind of nature is this? Fluid nature. So because of the unsaturated hydrocarbon, this hydrophobic tail is fluid in nature and it is non-polar as well. So hydrophobic tail is non-polar and the unsaturated nature of the hydrocarbon make it fluidic in nature. So in this structure, the term mosaic is relevant to the arrangement of these proteins which are present on the outer side as well as on the inner side. So mosaic is because of the proteins, and fluid term is used because of the phospholipid molecules which are present in the phospholipid bilayer. This is phospholipid bilayer. Understood? Now we will study the transport across the membrane. What the function of the cell membrane in eukaryotic cell as well as in the prokaryotic cell? The cell membrane, let's suppose, have you seen the structure now? Let's study the function. Function of the cell membrane. Function of cell membrane. Now, function of cell membrane. The main function is transport, forming. Another function is intercellular junction, secretion, cell division, etc. Now we will focus on the transport as it is mentioned in the NCERT. We will elaborate all the kind of transport come across the membrane. Now we will again take a look of the cell membrane. Let's suppose it is a cell. If it is eukaryotic, nucleus is present. If it is prokaryotic, nucleus is absent. And the content present, the living content is, this is cytoplasm, correct? This is the outer face, or this is C face, cytoplasmic side or C face, that is outer face, this is inner face. We have deduced the structure. Let's suppose we have taken this section. So we have drawn a structure like this in the last slide, and we have to study the transport from outer environment to the internal environment, or from the internal environment to the outer environment. This kind of transport we study across the cell membrane, from the outer surface to the inner side, or from the inner side to the outer surface. So we have to study the transport, correct? Okay. So these are the functions: transport, intercellular junction, secretion, cell division, etc. We study about the transport right now. let's suppose kind of transport. Transport are of two types that we have to study. One is passive transport, another is active transport. Correct? Passive transport, active transport. No ATP consumed. Here ATP consumed. This is spontaneous and along concentration gradient, and on that side that is non-spontaneous and against concentration gradient. Fine. So no ATP consumed, spontaneous along concentration gradient, non-spontaneous against concentration gradient. It is slow and bidirectional and channel protein and carrier protein, both are involved. If we study in the active transport, it is fast and unidirectional. Only carrier protein involved. So here only carrier protein are involved, and here channel proteins and carrier proteins both are involved. We discussed the passive transport and active transport across the membrane by a simple diagram as well. Let's suppose we have drawn the triangle like this. This is A point, this is B point, and this is C point. Definitely it is H height of the tower. A point, B point, C point. This is hypotenuse, this is base, this is perpendicular. Suppose a person is standing over here and throw a tennis ball. It will free fall or spontaneous fall. No ATP is consumed. Such kind of diagram or the picture reveal this kind of transport is passive transport. So with the help of this, we can easily elaborate the passive transport from the active transport. We will discuss the active transport later on. So in this image, a person is standing at the A point and freely throw a ball like this, and this is the passive transport. Correct? Fine. Now in the same image, we will discuss about the active transport. Let's suppose this person is standing here and throw a ball at this point. Definitely it will consume energy. This kind of transport is active, and that transport is passive. Understood? So we discuss the active transport and passive transport on certain basic parameters that we have to understand before studying the transport across the membrane. So initial level, we should study about the passive transport in this manner or active transport in this manner. Now we will study the examples in the membrane. Correct? Now we will draw the membrane again. Suppose These are peripheral proteins. Peripheral proteins. There are some channel proteins are present. Peripheral proteins, I mentioned earlier, these are not connected or not joined, okay, and these are lipid molecules. Fine. Now, these peripheral proteins, if we talk about the transport, initially we should study about the movement of these molecules, peripheral proteins and lipid molecules. This can move laterally in the same lateral lines like this, in this way or this way. Peripheral proteins can move on the same layer like this. This is lateral movement. It can be seen on the upper proteins as well as on the lower proteins. It is because of the fluid nature of these molecules. These molecules are phospholipid molecules, as we have mentioned earlier, lipid molecules, and the fluidity is dependent upon the non-saturated hydrocarbons or non-saturated tails. Fine. So these free movement, lateral movement, is because of the fluid nature of the phospholipid molecules. So lateral movement is seen by protein. Correct? Fine. There is a kind of movement observed among the phospholipid molecule. Suppose this is a molecule and this is a molecule. These molecules can interchange its position. Let's suppose this molecule come to this place and this molecule goes to this place. This kind of movement is called as flip-flop. What kind of movement is that? Flip-flop. These phospholipid molecules can show various kind of movement, but the most common is flip-flop movement. What will happen in the flip-flop movement? Suppose this is a molecule like this. This will come to here and it looks like, while it is moving, it looks like this, and this will go to there and it will look like this. This is the movement, is flip-flop. Suppose we study flexion movement, F-L-E-X-I-O-N, flexion. What will happen? Suppose there are two molecules like this. The position is interchanged. This is flexion, correct? So this is flip-flop, this is flexion. One more kind of movement is seen by phospholipid molecule. They show rotation at their point. They show rotation. Rotation is also seen. So we are discussing the movements in proteins and lipid before the transport. So this is the flip-flop, this is the flexion, this is the rotation, and lateral movement definitely like this. This is the molecule. It will go here, it will go here. This is the lateral movement. So such movements are observed in the proteins as well as in the lipids, correct? Now back to the transport. That is our main objective of drawing this diagram again. Now what will happen? We will be studying the passive transport. Listen carefully. Suppose there are certain gases are present on the outer side, gases present on the outer side or on the inner side. On the concentration gradient from high concentration to low concentration, they can easily pass from inside to outside or from outside to inside. This kind of transport is passive transport. So on the basis of concentration gradient, as we have mentioned in the last slide, it is bidirectional movement but comparatively slow as compared to the active one. So gases can move from outside to inside or from inside to outside. This movement is passive. Okay, so gases move passively. Neutral ions those ions don't have any charge, they are not represented in the form of cation or anion. They are just free elements of the periodic table. They can move across the membrane easily. This is passive transport. Another, those molecules are non-polar or hydrophobic. Non-polar or hydrophobic, can easily move across the membrane without any issue. So those molecules are non-polar and hydrophobic, can easily move across the membrane without any issue. Okay, fine. But those molecules which are polar, like water, its movement is called as osmosis, and it is driven by channels. As we have mentioned, it is driven by channels, protein channels, correct? So water is transported by channels, and this movement is osmosis, and this kind of diffusion is facilitated diffusion, correct? So during the facilitated diffusion, this polar molecule, water molecule, can move with the help of channel. Now we will study over here. Let's suppose what is the requirement of this channel? This is the channel. This is channel protein, transmembrane protein. Suppose this is a polar molecule, correct? Correct? Okay. Now, polar molecule, how does it work? This polar molecule, if we keep it here, without channel, this molecule can reach up to this point, up to the hydrophilic head, but it cannot cross the entire membrane because of the hydrophobic tail. In that regard, we need this kind of channel, transmembrane protein or channel. So to avoid this complexity, this polar molecule will pass via this channel. So this is the facilitated diffusion, correct? So during the facilitated diffusion, we have used the channels. Fine. There are certain molecules like glucose or some organic compounds. If we want to move them across the membrane, we want the carrier proteins. Now, what is the carrier proteins we have to study? Let's suppose we will draw a diagram in the same. We will mention the carrier protein in the same diagram. How they will look like. So either here we will create some space. Now, these are the carrier protein. Correct? These are the carrier proteins. What will happen? Suppose a molecule called glucose. This glucose molecule, if want to enter the membrane or reach the cytosolic site, what will happen? This carrier protein change its shape and allow the glucose molecule to come from the outer environment to the inner side. So it changes shape. Correct? So in the passive transport, what we have studied, just we recall it: gases, neutral ions, non-polar compounds easily penetrate through the membrane. If the molecules are polar, then they need the channel, and the diffusion is facilitated diffusion. Here we have mentioned the water molecule came across the membrane with the help of this channel, and the molecules, if like glucose, they need the carrier proteins. Carrier proteins change its shape and allow the glucose molecule to come inside from the outer environment. This is the passive transport. Now, what is active transport? Suppose during the active transport, cell membrane. Active transport. Here we have mentioned it is always from low concentration to high concentration, and ATP required and unidirectional. These are the certain characteristic, and it is fast. As NCERT mentioned, example in sodium potassium pump. Sodium potassium pump, energy is required to transport the respective ions along the membrane, correct? So in the active transport, sodium potassium pump is mentioned in the NCERT, correct? Fine. Now in last we will study certain points about carbohydrates. As we have mentioned in the last slide, NCERT mentioned carbohydrates as sugar, and I mentioned over there as oligosaccharides, correct? What these oligosaccharides are? These oligosaccharides are glycoproteins and glycolipids. These are attached with the peripheral proteins on the outer side as well as on the ear side. They are responsible for cell recognition and the gametic fusion and the antigenic properties as well. So these are behaving as these both are behaving as eye and ear of the cell and help in antigenic property, cell recognition, etc. Okay, thank you.